They starved her, and then they let the dogs come and take her, and they ate her body, and we only found a few bones. And that was the grandmother I met that day. But I did, and I met her. So on that day, yes, it was hard. Yes, it was difficult. But I realized that I couldn't live waiting for people who I knew were gone. And
I'm the only one who survived on my dad. So I had the responsibility to carry the bloodline. And as I grow and saw the struggle, saw the hunger, the poverty that we actually didn't cause, but with an emptiness, I never buried my father up to date. So in my loneliness, I will sit somewhere and think, a wealthy man coming to rescue me. We used to have a stone. I will sit there every evening and wait for my dad. And he never came. So went to school. It was hard. Praise the Lord. It's not easy to speak after my younger sister Linda, but I pray that the Holy Spirit will help me. Before my testimony, let's read Ezekiel 16, verse 6. It says, Then I passed by, and I saw you kicking about in your blood. And as you lay there in your blood, I say, you live. My testimony is a story of life, a story of living in a broken world, raised by broken grandma. My name is Isimbi Hatzir. I'm a mother, I'm a wife, and I lived. I'm here today. If I shed any tears, it's not from sorrow. It's not from the pain of the past. It's for this gift that we are given and many were not. I've been thinking about it when genocide happened. My parents were very young. I lost my father. My mother died shortly after because of the cause of genocide. Growing up, I was very young in the genocide. I was about 3.5. I don't have a lot of memory of genocide because the whole entire 3 months, I only saw one person being killed. And that haunted me until I don't know for how long. But I'm sure many older people can talk about genocide, but me, I'm here to talk about after genocide. Many people talk about genocide and they talk about their pain, but nobody actually talk about the pain of growing in a broken world with parents who barely survived. I remember growing up, we were not even allowed to talk about genocide until now. I don't know what happened really because I can't even, my grandma can't even bear to put up 2 sentences. So we grow up looking around on the area in the village where we live, being hated without knowing why you are being hated, hungry, starving. We didn't have a place where to live. And I remember I was about 7, 8. We had a cow, and my grandma was trying to find somebody to help us milk the cow, and nobody came. And I remember my grandma putting me. I was the first granddaughter, so I was the older one she got at the house. She pulled me. She said, from today, you're gonna be a man. And she taught me how to milk from 7. And she told me, there is no way these people gonna see us breaking down like ntabwo muzambanika. And it dawned on me, I was young, and ever since I grew a resilient mind that I or my family will never be where the enemy wanted us. I started milking from age 7. My grandma was very broken-hearted, and I didn't know why she was also young, and she have lost everybody, and I found myself, Mom. So I found myself really confused as a kid, You are being in a situation where you don't know what's really going on. You are not allowed to, shortly after genocide, people still have their ideology. So even being a kid, you are not even allowed to be with anybody's friend. You're not allowed to pray with that. You're not allowed to pray with that. You can't eat here. You can't eat there. So I grew up in that life. I went to school. You go to school. I remember when I went to primary, I don't know, sinzimba muzurubahu. We can't even afford that, I remember my grandma, she went to the neighbor and they contributed, so me and her daughter, we can divide the board. So they took the board, it was and they cut it in half. She took half and I took half. And I grew in that life. But all my life I was motivated, to be the man, like my grandma told me. So I will milk the cow. I will go to farm. Sometimes I was really skinny. If I'm skinny today, imagine when I was around 8. I will go to farm. I will farm. Urabona amayogi. Nkananirwa gukuramo akaguru. And I lived with that, but with an emptiness, I never buried my father up to date. So in my loneliness, I will sit somewhere and think, a wealthy man coming to rescue me. We used to have a stone. I will sit there every evening and wait for my dad. And he never came. So went to school. It was hard. Farj did everything they can do, and standing here, I thank the Republic of Rwanda and His Excellency. I remember we used to make joke. We used to pass where the headquarters of Farj was, and we would say, we are going to see our father, They will ask you, where is your father? You said, they are in Remera, where Farj was. Before that, it was here around Rwandex. So that's the only father some of us knew. But today, I'm not going to take you there. Today, I'm going to tell you about being raised by a strong woman. Resilience. My grandma, although she was broken, she teaches us one thing: dignity, and not to accept to die. I remember she used to tell me, I'm the only one who survived on my dad. So I had the responsibility to carry the bloodline. And as I grew and saw the struggle, saw the hunger, the poverty that we actually didn't cause, that's when I say, you know what, maybe there is a reason why I survive. So that my father's bloodline will not be finished. And that drive, that purpose pushed me. And alongside that journey, I met Christ. And yes, we still feel loneliness that nobody can understand. I remember the day I gave birth to my son, I sat like 4 hours and I cried. I didn't know what. I just cried. I felt the loneliness that I have never felt in my life. Of course, we still have that loneliness. Of course, we still feel that emptiness, that no man, nothing. We have a good government. Nobody can feel that emptiness, especially the emptiness of have not even found the body of your parents. But there's a way. If you are here, you are like me, or I want to tell you that there is a way, and the way is Jesus Christ. The day I met Jesus Christ, my life became whole. I remember being a kid, I was a very disturbed kid. I don't know if doctor remember me. I was among the kids in Aparu de Ruhango that you used to help. We have gone, the trauma, all the disturbance have become so much that we couldn't even study. I remember they used to come, they didn't even know what is wrong, but what is wrong was not even able to explain because it's growing up, with that emptiness, with that confusion, with family that are broken, they can't even tell you the truth. You are there waiting for the parents who will never come, and it's all make you crazy. But all that, the day I met Jesus, I remember, I always felt the emptiness. But the day I met Jesus and I found out this verse that we read, Apostle we read the verse of Ezekiel 16, 6. It says, "Then I passed by you, and I say, live." The day I met Jesus is only the day I start living. And I started to see that maybe there is a purpose for my life. There is a reason why I survived. And the God who didn't leave me then when I was learning through gunshots, seeing dead body, and I was full. I didn't have knowledge. I didn't even know him. I didn't even know how to survive. But by his grace, I survived. So, but by that time, I found the purpose of life, and I found the hope of living. My fellow sister who gave a testimony on Tuesday said, living ukubaho nta burangare. For the survivors, other people maybe they may have the luxury of, living the way they want. For us, we don't have a choice. We have to live, and we have to live good, because there's a whole entire bloodline, If I fail, my father's legacy, my father's name is gone, So we learn to live a life without even, making a slight mistake, because this was a gift that we've been given, but also we don't have the luxury of, praying with this life. So that's where the resilience came. That's where the rebuilding came. Today I'm a mother. Today I'm a wife to that amazing guy. And today, and today, and today I have you all. I remember. I thank God that gave me the courage. It's not because I was brave or because I was intelligent. It's because it's by the Spirit of God. And I believe as a believer, I believe that there is a reason why God have helped me to survive. And I thank God every day for that. And I thank God for Women Foundation Ministry and for you, Apostle. I remember I came to this church when I was about to get married, and I was very scared. As an orphan, I didn't want to do marriage and fail. I didn't have an aunt to ask. So I was praying and I asked God, how am I going to do? They say marriage are hard. How am I going to do marriage, And then God directed me here to Apostle, and it was the best thing I can pray for. But you all, by your testimony, what you share, like godmothers, young mothers, those things, for some of us, it's everything. For some of us, it's the only way we can survive. We come, we listen to your testimony, and we know how to behave, how to stay in marriage, how to be humble, how to submit to our husbands. Without that, some of us doesn't have a backup, Some of us doesn't have aunties who's gonna tell us. We just launch in a marriage, launch in a motherhood, and we don't know what to do. So I think women, and I think people like you, Apostle, especially you who have opened a door for people like us. For us, we don't take any word that you say or any mother who passed here say. For us, it's treasure. For us, it's everything we need. We come here, we listen, and we know how to be adults, because for us, nobody have taught us how to be adults. We just grow and we moved. So I just want to thank you for this initiative, for this church, for the family that we have found here, for the sisters. Some of us is all we can have, We don't have anything else. So thank you so much.
Linda, you're welcome. May God comfort you.
Hello. Hallelujah. Hello, my name is Linda. And before I begin, I would like to thank our apostle and the leaders of this church for giving us a space where, voices that would be silenced are given a space to be raised and in truth, in purpose, and, be given a way to reach Christ. So, my name is Linda. I am a child of 2 survivors of the genocide. My mom was an only child. Her parents, she lost her parents in the genocide. And my dad is a sole survivor. He was the 7th of 8 kids. And his parents, his siblings, they were all killed in the genocide. So when I was growing up, I did not know that I had, that there was such a thing as grandparents, cousins, uncles, aunts. I learned it when I was 6. I learned that, at school they ask you have to go home, ask your parents, the names of your grandparents as a homework. I was supposed to bring names, supposed to ask, what their names are, their pictures. And I really didn't try even to ask, because the only family I knew was my 2 parents and my little brother. So for me, that was pretty much them asking impossible questions that I didn't know the answer to. So I got to school, I hadn't done my homework, it became a whole thing. But from then on, I learned that other kids had things that I didn't. So I kind of started to notice it a little more. I started noticing my friends saying, I went, doing this with my cousins, I didn't have that. My grandparents got me this. And I was like, oh, really? Oh my God, yeah, that is so true. I can relate. I tried to kind of relate to them, but I was, always unable to, because they had something that I didn't. So this became something that I was fixated on, something that I needed to know. I started asking my parents. So I would ask my parents, who are my grandparents? Why don't I have cousins to play with? And all they would tell me was, oh, if your grandfather was here, you see the way you like to read, my grandfather had your grandfather had a library full of books. He would have let you, read all of his books. Let's say if I said, I love putting like some clothes together and, kind of styling myself. And my dad would be like, oh, my sister, she loved designing clothes. That is who she was. My dad's name is Kalinda Eve. They're from Nyanza. Their family was from Nyanza. My grandfather's name is Madanganyo Narcisse, and my grandmother was Nishirembere Agnes. So, for me, I grew up wanting to know them. They would tell me stories, obviously not telling me where they were, how I would meet them. They would just tell me stories because they wanted to let me down slowly. You don't tell a 6-year-old that people they want to meet were killed brutally. So what they did, they told me stories. They introduced me to people who I never got to meet, but who I had already who I was already attached to. So I would always be like, soon I will get to meet this one, I'll get to meet this one. And obviously they would just tell me stories. So when they simply told me stories, what I did was, there was like a brochure, like people have random brochures lying around. I saw one, there was 2 old people, an old man and an old woman. I was like, these are my grandparents, they obviously are. And if they're not, I'm just gonna take it to school and say they are. And then if my parents want to challenge that, they're gonna have to show me their real ones. So what I did, I took that to school to kind of, be relatable. Finally, show also, even me, I have these stories. And some people would say I was lying. To me, I wasn't lying. I was just saying stories that hadn't happened yet. Okay, there were stories that were supposed to happen, right? Like my grandmother would take me out. She would do this, then that. Of course, like they were there. It's just eventually I'm just gonna meet them. But then history had already happened and history made me a liar. I later found out my parents saw that I was, I wanted to know, and they had to tell me. They had to tell me at 7 years old that I had a family I would never meet because they were brutally killed because of the way they were born. And that is how, I learned the word genocide. I learned the word genocide, but I didn't know what death meant. I'm not someone who likes to ask questions. So what I did was I assumed I knew. Okay, so they were dead, right? Just like cartoons. So in cartoons, when people die, and in movies, they come back. They would come back. It was just a matter of time, It was just a little bit of time, and I would wait. I had time. I was young. I have time to wait. So when they come back, 10, 20 years later, we will meet. So for me, I kept a hope that they were gonna come back, because even if I thought of death as something final, how can you explain that a whole family of more than 10 people, only one survived? That didn't make any sense to me. So when I was 10, my granduncle, that is my grandpa's youngest brother, he was, still alive, but he passed away in 2016. I was 10 years old. And that is when I learned what death was. That people who are dead, they don't come back. And that is when I learned that people don't come back and that I should probably stop waiting. But I didn't stop waiting. Because to me, it didn't make sense. I had hope, and I still waited. I still believed that there was a way in, I don't know what possibility, but God would make it possible. I was like, by all means, this will happen. But I kept waiting. I kept the hope, because to me, I couldn't grasp it. I couldn't grasp the fact that, I had lost everyone and I would never see them. So for me, instead of sitting down and coping with the truth they had told me, I sat, I understood what it meant. But even though they were killed, there's no way they were dead.
like killing them. Of course they wanted to kill them. Of course there was everything, hunting for them, all of that. But I knew in my heart that there's no way they could have been dead. So I just kept waiting. The day it finally sunk in that they were actually gone was the day I met my grandmother. So some would say I met her, some would say I didn't. But let me tell you about that day. So it was a day, I was 12 years old. It was in 2018. It had been a long night for me. It was, kind of in May. I hadn't gone to school. So I was watching movies all night. I didn't have school the next day. I was watching movies all night, I'll tell you this. So at 4 a.m., I overhear my parents talking. So what I heard was my dad talking about his mom and then going to Nyanza. In my head, immediately that translated into, my grandmother is back and I'm gonna go see her. So what we did was, we kept going. I think my dad thought that I knew what was going on, but in my head, I was going to see my grandmother. So I'm going, we got in the car, we went to buy her flowers. While in the car, because I had not gotten her any other gift that was mine, what I did was I made her a bracelet so me and her can match. And, after all the time we had spent apart, I thought, we would be the best of friends. And I knew that my hope, the hope I had had all these years, I knew it. And yeah, she was back. Of course she was. So we went, we reached at the memorial, at the Nyanza Memorial. And to me, you see those signs that say Kwibuka, here there's one that says Kwibuka 31. I didn't pay attention to that. I didn't even see that it was a memorial. Me in my head, because I was so focused, I was so elated. I was excited to see her. And, my dad was supposed to give his testimony that day, so he was seated in front. I wanted to sit back so that, when she gets there, I'm able to see her. I was scanning faces all day because I had seen an old picture of my grandmother. And also everyone said she looked like me, so of course I was going to find her. I can see my own reflection. Of course I will find her. So I was scanning faces for a few hours, and then my dad came. He led me inside the memorial. He was like, I'm going to show you your grandmother. To him, he knew the truth he had told me. But for me, I was thinking about my grandmother who was alive. So we go. He shows me, a coffin. He's like, yeah, this is your grandmother. And for me, who was waiting to see someone that was alive, that had come back from wherever, it was unimaginable for me. I went there, I saw that, and he finally told me the story of how she died. They starved her, and then they let the dogs come and take her, and they ate her body, and we only found a few bones. And that was the grandmother I met that day. But I met her. So on that day, yes, it was hard. Yes, it was difficult. But I realized that I couldn't live waiting for people who I knew were gone. And after learning that, I couldn't live just waiting for her, I thought about, if hate had done such a thing, imagine what love can do. If youth people just as young as me right now, had done that to her, then and also there were others who came and rescued others in situations like hers, then I know exactly what I have to do. My strength, it can be used for something, and my pain can be turned into something beautiful. So in all of this, what I think, in all of this, we are We have gone through a lot as a country and as people, but we are here. Survivors have gone through a lot, and my pain cannot even measure up to what you've been through. It can never measure to how strong you've been. And I'm very grateful for that. We are grateful for you, and we see your strength. We learn from your strength, and it is what keeps us going. We know the dark past, the dark history of our country, and what it's going to be for us is not a burden, but a responsibility. A responsibility to know that our youth will not be used for the terrible things that people who killed did, but it will be used for good, for rebuilding, for prosperity, and for healing. As your kids, we are here, and we will be there for you. We will make sure your stories are heard and their history is not forgotten. We say never again, and we mean it. Thank you very much for being our parents, for teaching us to get to Christ, for healing, and we will be there for you too. Thank you very much.